Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bloom webinar for this afternoon. We'll be talking about nailing prospect follow-up. I am Wendy O'Donovan Phillips, CEO of Bloom Marketing, and I always like to start with a commitment to our listeners today. At Bloom, we aim to be of the highest and best service in every interaction that we have, and that goes for every one of you on the line today. We like to keep webinar attendees on the edge of their seats. Those of you who have joined us before know what I'm talking about here. We like to truly provide value. So in that spirit, our team of marketing experts took the time to secret shop every one of you that we could that signed up for today's webinar. So let's see, I'm just looking at my statistics here. That included that we had about 100 people sign up, and we were able to secret shop 63 senior living organizations that are joining us today. And I will announce those winners before we are finished today. Tomorrow, each of you will receive a complimentary report based upon our findings. Take what you like and leave the rest. You guys are doing a great job in marketing. It may just be that we have flagged up some things that are priorities for you, but not priorities at the moment. So I'll begin by sharing with you guys this fresh way to look at following up with your prospects. Then I'll briefly share a little bit about us and why we do what we do, and then I will reveal our winners and we'll be finished. So with that, let's get started. I'm just going to move this guy down here so it's not a distraction. And what we typically see in terms of customer follow-up is phrases like, I just wanted to check back, right? We always see these sorts of phrases in our inbox when people are checking up with us, trying to get back in touch with us. And these, I don't know about you, when I see these in my inbox as a communications professional, I always get a little bit irked. Like, it's not about them, right? So when we say, I just wanted to check back, well, it's not about what you wanted to do. If you're trying to be of service to me, you know, hit the ground running and tell me what you need to tell me that is going to really resonate with me. I'm sorry to bother you again. You know, the self-deprecating thing, also sort of a weak way to follow up. I only have one vacancy left, so like there's the threat way of following up. And at the end of the day, these all sort of fall flat, right? And we don't feel great sending those out either. We know that everybody who's joining us today, we all know when we're sending really great communications because they make us feel great to share with folks. So today I'm going to share with you 3 concepts and 1 clear path to success in following up with prospects in a truly meaningful and engaging way. The 3 concepts are prepare, connect, and discover. There is some overlap to, and I'm just getting a message here. There are 3 concepts, prepare, connect, and discover, and I will take you through each one in a bit of detail here. There's some overlap in a previous webinar that we've done around connecting in a meaningful way, but for the most part, these are new concepts. So first of all, I mean, we all know as professionals to prepare for any calls or meetings that we have each day, and yet days get very busy, and it's difficult to always take that time to prepare. I always say to my team that preparation is not a nice to have, it's a have to have. Because when you are really centered and prepared and ready for the conversation or ready for the exchange, that's when really great exchanges happen. So we like to train our clients to have a primary and a secondary objective in mind. Those objectives are not your objectives. They are the objectives of the customer or resident who is getting ready to join your organization. So you really want to listen for what they want to accomplish. We're going to talk more about that. And then begin the conversation with your primary objective, Mrs. Peterson, I know, is to find a place for your father-in-law that includes memory care, right? That's really bringing it home for them. Have that secondary objective. I know your secondary objective is, of course, to find a very safe place for him that is close to your neighborhood. And then have a carrot on hand. So if that particular person in that particular conversation at that particular time says, right now I'm not focused on those objectives at all, you can use that carrot to be the glue for your conversation. So for example, another thing that you mentioned to me sort of on the side was that you had a bad experience prior with the food at the home where your father-in-law was earlier. I did have some menus to share with you, and I wanted to connect you with our primary chef in order to answer any questions, right? So that allows the person, number one, to see that you truly listen to them. Wow, I said that kind of on the side, but I'm surprised that you remember that. And then number two, that you truly cared enough to take that next step, gather the menus, notify the primary chef, and get them on the line if possible. So again, I'm just throwing out some ideas here, but you would make it correct for your organization and most importantly for your prospect. What do they primarily and secondarily want to get out of this conversation from you? Deliver that and only that. Always, always, always send a preconditioning email anytime that you have a scheduled event happening with a prospective customer or I'm sorry, or I'm distracted because some people are having trouble getting on the audio. I apologize. Anytime that you have a scheduled event with a customer or a prospective move-in, you always want to send a preconditioning email prior to that scheduled event. I'm going to give you a moment to take this one in. So it covers the date and time, the three or four topics that we want to address on that call, and then opens up the conversation for, is there anything else that you want to accomplish? It helps to make sure that everybody's in the same frame, that we're all having the same discussion, that we're all on the same page. Here's another example, very different example. You get the idea here. It does go beyond just setting expectations. You could do a generic version of this that just says, I'm confirming our meeting Monday at 1 p.m., right? But when you take it a step further and you bullet point some of the primary and secondary objectives and perhaps a carrot that person revealed to you, that they revealed to you this is what was important to them, it, again, demonstrates that you've really listened and begins to build that relationship between your organization and the prospective client or resident. So you want to create a call plan. In your previous calls, and I'm going to show you how to do this, in your previous calls, you will have listened to their needs. What are their primary needs and their secondary needs? To why those needs are important to them, why we have to fulfill those needs, and then a suggested solution. So you are tying together two things that they shared with you, need and importance, with your suggested solution. It always comes in that order. The suggested solution cannot come first, and it cannot come without you articulating back to them the need and the importance, lest it all fall a bit flat. Okay, so let me give you an example. I understood, Mrs. Smith, that you have a need for memory care for your mother. I know that it's important to you to find a home that is safe and near your home and that you can trust because you've had a bad experience in the past. What I suggest as the next step for us, Mrs. Smith, is for you to come in and tour our home, meet our CEO, meet our healthcare providers, and meet our, again, I'm making things up here, but chief of memory care, okay? So I have knit that all together for Mrs. Smith. I have gone back to what she shared with me in terms of the basic need, but I have also tied in why that is important to her, what makes her heart and mind really tick around this thing. And that is the heart of the matter. That's where you're really building a relationship. And only then when I tie those two together do I suggest a solution. At that point, when I suggest the solution, it's falling on much more receptive ears than ever before. And then notice that the suggested solution that I made was not, I suggest that you move in here, and here's why. That's really jumping the gun. You have to meet people where they are. What is the next right step for this individual? I was going to pause here and do some more examples, but I'm going to carry on to our second concept in the interest of time, connect. So all of that was in preparation. We haven't actually connected yet. When I gave that example, I would have actually written that example down, not just said it from memory, but in my preparation for the meeting or for the phone call, I would have written down what her need is or his need is, what is the importance to that person for fulfilling that need, and what my suggestion is for the next proper step. I've just written that down. Now it's time to connect, to have that meeting or to have that email. Again, that preparation is so vital to making the connection truly happen, because it helps with all of us as business people, as marketers, and then some of the folks on the line have direct care contact. In our busy days, it's hard to keep up with each individual prospective client, but it's critical that we do so in this really personal way. So that time that it takes to prepare, as you get going with this, it might take you 10 or 15 minutes to prepare for a single call or meeting coming up with a prospect. But that 10 or 15 minutes, one, saves you so much more time down the road over explaining things because the relationship wasn't built in the first place. And two, it shortens the time between that person being a prospective resident or client and actually signing on the dotted line. So take that time to prepare. And I have to preach it to myself too, because it's so easy to skip that step, but so vital to the entire picture. So now we're ready to have that meeting or phone call with our prospective client. And yes, I am the lady who included a cat meme in my webinar. Here's why. We all, those of you who have a customer relationship management system, we all know that it can be cumbersome. It feels like one more thing to do. It feels like an administrative task to add those contacts into the system and keep the notes and this, that, and the other. But again, such a critical part of connecting in a meaningful way. When you have a profile on each one of your prospective clients, and this one is not fully filled out, but you get the idea, a framework of what a profile would look like. When I actually pick up the phone and I am ready to speak with John, who John, who has a 9-year-old son, likes sushi, has a son, Jack, has a younger daughter, is married to a man named Phil, right? So when I have this information at my fingertips, it's so much easier for me to pick up the phone and jump right back into relationship with this contact, right? Whereas to wing it, to go, I think I'll remember some things. I think that he said that he moved to Houston for this job, but I don't really remember. When you refresh yourself on this information as you're going into an exchange with this person, it makes all the difference, one, in your confidence going into the conversation, and two, certainly in building that relationship. So yes, updating the CRM feels like one more thing to do in our jobs. If you have to hire an intern, a part-time intern, to do this kind of thing, it's critical that it's done. And then add into your CRM a viability checklist and keep this up with every interaction that you have with each prospect. So we'll go back to our example of John. Under John's profile, I have down 6 main bullet points with 6 sub-bullet points. John and I have covered his goals and the goals of my organization to fulfill those goals. We both understand those. Secondly, we agree that those goals are attainable. Not all of my prospects can I check that second box with, right? But with John and I can check that box. We agree that it's a good match, that my organization can help him to achieve his goals. We understand the indicators. This is another way of saying his needs. I understand John's needs, and I have validated those needs with him by virtue of having planned well and said, here are his 2 or 3 needs. Here's why those needs are important to him. Here are the suggested solutions I've made to him. So we've validated those together. We have looked at the evidence that supports those needs. So I have truly listened to John over the days or weeks or months that I've been in contact with him. We are both in agreement that the evidence is there that those needs need to be fulfilled now. And we have validated the impact on resources. Sometimes this can mean, how is this affecting your life, John? What is at stake for you when you're not moving forward with this decision? Okay. Sometimes it's financial. Sometimes there are other impacts on resources, but more often than not in this industry, it's impact on the human spirit. Then the fourth main bullet point, John and I have involved all the key decision makers. You and I both know that when it comes to decision time for organizations like yours, for prospects like yours, they often have to include multiple family members. They sometimes have to include medical professionals that are involved in the situation, right? We have involved all those, and even sometimes, social workers with the state. It just depends, right? So we've involved all those key decision makers, and we have made sure that all those key decision makers have said, yes, this is the right direction. And then lastly, and most importantly, John and I have agreed upon budget, what it's going to cost him to move forward with my organization, timeline, when we plan to, when move-in date is, or when we plan to actually sign that, he plans to sign the dotted line, and we have agreed upon next steps. When you articulate to your prospect at the end of the sales cycle, the next thing that happens is you will sign a lease. You will give me a check for $5,400. We will arrange for move-in day, and on move-in day, you can expect for these 5 things to happen. Your prospect has so many questions in their minds about what the future holds for them. And so the clearer you can be and the simpler you can make it about next steps, the more likely they are to finally make the decision to sign on the dotted line and become a client or resident of yours. So this viability checklist allows you to keep coming back and say, how important is this lead? And that might sound callous in the industry that we all work in, but the fact of the matter is not all of the leads that you have right now have intention of actually moving in with you or becoming a client anytime soon. When you use this checklist, you can figure out who to use your time with, who is worth, who is the highest and best use of your time in your whole funnel. And then if you can't check off these items for a particular prospect, table them and move on to that next person who you can help, and just keep moving in that direction. Just very briefly, who we are, why we do what we do, and how we do it. We are a team of 8 people out of Denver, Colorado, and we deliver 4 different types of marketing with 50 different marketing tactics under those 4 umbrellas. So everything that you see on your screen here, we do. More importantly, we help organizations like yours take existing marketing plans and vet them, make sure that they are in tip-top shape, make sure that they are producing the highest possible returns on investment. We do that with target market research and competitor analysis to make sure that everything is ticking and humming as it should. And then I should say we also deliver every one of those and execute on every one of those tactics as well. So some clients use us for overflow projects, that kind of thing. We believe that no one tells your organization's story like your happiest residents and clients and their families. They light up and share stories of transformation that you and I could not replicate if we tried, and that stuff is marketing gold. Our methodologies produce a 176% more new leads over other methods, which is what we've come to understand from our data that we've collected over the last 10 years in business. And we are a team of 8, like I said, out of Denver. I'm not counting the dog as a team member, although he's an auxiliary team member. We have one on the team who's not pictured here. Everybody after our session today gets a free excerpt of my book, so look for that in your inbox. I also invite you, I always have people, whenever I lecture or do these webinars, I always ask people, how do I keep this momentum going that you started on this webinar? And probably the best way to do that is through insights in your inbox. So again, our commitment to you is this is a spam-free program. We are never promotional in the stuff that we send. It's always educational, and it mirrors some of the learnings that we share on the webinars and in my lectures. It's a great way to keep today's learnings top of mind. We often have people use our blog posts that end up in their inbox as tools and ideas to train their teams without our involvement, and it's free. Here are some of our most read titles. And I'm going to pause here for questions about what I've addressed so far. While I pause, if you would like to get those insights in your inbox, we send them once weekly, and again, 100% educational. We don't share any of your information. Go ahead and just text your email address to the phone number on the screen. And I am going to unmute everybody, if I can recall how. What questions do we have so far? And we are unmuted at this point, so if you are not muted and you don't have a question, please use your phone.
Can we get a copy of the slides?
You know, I don't share a copy of the slides in their totality because we have clients who pay a lot of money for these trainings. But we are happy to share key slides, and that will come to your inbox. You don't have to do anything. That will come to your inbox with that excerpt of the book. Absolutely. Other questions?
Great. Yeah, so how do we approach prospects who don't have an email address?
Great question, and very common in this industry. The most important thing to do is to understand what media your audience is going to consume. A simple survey to your current market can reveal this. And then however you could get that message across that they will pay most attention to, if that's you know, a postcard in their mailbox, absolutely. Send that preconditioning message via postcard in the mailbox instead of via email. But send it. Don't not send it. It's just a really good, nice way to warm up that conversation. I'll take one more question before we move on. All right, easy enough. I'm going to place everybody back on. We'll have time towards the end for more questions as well. All righty. So the third concept, and again, there's a little bit of overlap in one of our previous sessions together on this, but I believe that we can't go over this enough. We have, with clients that we work with, we do this training sort of over and over because it is probably the hardest skill, I think, in life and certainly in business, is to learn to listen. I have a business coach who said to me, the first step in learning to listen is to realize that you don't. We are not trained to listen. And yet listening is the most beneficial thing that you can do for your prospective client and for your business in order to sign prospective clients and make them clients. So in the discovery phase, this is all about them. When you're actually in conversation with them, quiet the advice monster, put the advice monster in the closet, quiet the professional monster for a good portion of time. In other words, you're not telling them about your organization or your home. You're listening to what their needs are. And how do we listen? By asking the right questions. So digging for those needs, okay? When you want to understand what their needs are, so you can plug it into need, important, suggested solution, you can ask these 5 questions. What is your understanding of your mother's situation? What is your understanding of the potential outcome if we proceed, if we don't proceed? What are your hopes, fears? What trade-offs are you willing to make or not willing to make? And then my favorite, based upon all that knowledge, what is the course of action that best serves your family? When you allow a prospect to arrive at one of the hardest decisions in their lives on their own by asking a really great open-ended question like this, it again builds that relationship and then gives them the grace and the power to say, I know where to go next. and then to actually take that action. My very favorite question out of all of these categories is this one, and it helps you get at the heart of that formula. So we talked about connecting need to importance to suggested solution. I encourage you guys to try this question on with one of your loved ones, maybe at the dinner table this evening, or even for that matter with your team. When somebody starts talking about something that they need or they want, quiet. Shut those lips and just listen for a little while. And then when they come up for air, rather than responding and we want to respond and fix it, or we want to respond with some advice, rather than doing that, ask this question. When you ask people, why is that important to you? You will actually physically see sort of a shift in their face and their demeanor. It's like they take off the mask. They get vulnerable and they start talking to you about their dreams for their lives, and they start talking to you about their childhood, and amazing things come out of this question. And then in the prospective client relationship, it helps for you to really understand what's going on with them. It helps for you to help them. It helps you help them connect those dots of, I heard you said you need this. I understand it's important to you because of that. And here's what I suggest that we do together next. It just knits it all together. It connects those dots, the need, the importance, and the suggested solution. A to Z questions are terrific too. Please describe to me, start to finish, breakfast to dinner. What is your mother's typical eating habits? What do they look like in a typical day? Please describe to me your mother's daily process for bathing, grooming, dressing. Describe to me Monday through Friday the weekly activities outside the home in which she currently and regularly involves herself. These questions allow people to see for themselves, I don't know if she has a process for that, or I don't know if I have a process for that. It allows you to call attention to their vulnerability without making them feel like you called them out. Really powerful questions. And then assumptive questions. You have to say these in just the right tone so it doesn't sound condescending. But when you visited other communities and asked about their housekeeping, linen, and maintenance, were you were satisfied with what they offer? Like you're assuming that they were satisfied. And then they go, oh gosh, I didn't ask about that stuff. And then when you say, here's my suggested solution for that, again, only if you're on topic of this because of the need and the importance that they laid out. If you're on this topic, then you can offer your suggested solution that is going to, and then that will help them to see, gosh, I didn't think to ask that other community about it, but she went the extra mile and addressed it. And I now feel not just more alliance to this organization, but I also feel like you genuinely listened to me. Or your mother's current community offers memory care, right? So get them to connect with you and allow you to make your suggestions. These happen only after you have listened, because now it's becoming about you again, right? So I would say a good 3/4 the way into the conversation is when you want to start bringing up suggested solutions, not a minute sooner. The end goal is you want them to decide to take the next step, not to move in, not to sign the dotted line, not to part ways with their money, but to take the next step with you. Could be another call, could be a tour, could be a face-to-face meeting, just the next step. And then ask them, are you ready for that next step? All right, in conclusion, we have a couple of minutes here. Our winners for today's secret shopping. We looked up all of the attendees, as many as we could, to see if they had a contact form on their website, how quickly they responded to our initial request for information, and if they sent any follow-up communications after that. The findings were that 83% of the 63 that we contacted had a form on their website. So you guys are doing great. We were able to locate and submit a request. 33% of the forms that we submitted did not receive a response back, but 66% of them did. And this means that, let's see, actually, of the companies that sent an additional follow-up emails, 30% of them sent more than one follow-up email. So our winner, our third runner-up is an organization that had very thorough follow-up, included pleasant language and very helpful information. And that goes to Belmont Village. Congratulations to you guys. Our second runner-up with really great follow-up, 4 different points of contact, is Brookdale. Great job. And then our winner for today had such thorough follow-up that included a personalized email with a fun graphic and warm language, as well as an informative brochure. And that goes to American House Grand Blanc. The winners will receive complimentary training in one of the 4 areas mentioned here, and we'll be in touch to deliver those to you. And then everyone will get that custom report from the findings that we made for your organization. Again, before leaving, if you'd like to continue your learnings, sign up for free insights in your inbox. Just text your email address now to the number on your screen. If you have a specific challenge that you want help with, just add a little asterisk next to your email address and we'll get in touch with you to help you knock that out. Otherwise, just your email address and we'll get those insights into your inbox. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next time.